What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F1 23 My Team Career Mode. Last time out we were at the Japanese Grand Prix, and finally, after what felt like an eternity, after having 3 DNFs in 5 races, after having no points finishes since the French Grand Prix before the summer break, we finally managed to get back into the points with a decent P7 finish. You know, we started P5, I was hoping for a little bit more, but the strategy just didn't really work out for us the way I wanted it to. We got undercut by a couple of people, and that meant that we ended up coming home in P7. But we picked up 6 points, we've stayed in P6 in the Constructors' Championship for the time being, and we are looking good going into Qatar. Now, you may remember from last season, as we choose Max Verstappen as our rival, because this was a very difficult choice. 2 championship contenders, the only choices I had as my rival, so there we go. But yeah, you may remember from last season Qatar, the tyre deg, insanely high, ridiculously high, overbearingly high, in fact, to the point I had to do a 2-stop, and this is about the only race on the entire calendar where I felt like I needed to do a 2-stop across the whole season. So yeah, we have had some tyre wear upgrades since then, of course. We've had some chassis upgrades, all that kind of thing, so I'm hoping that maybe the tyre wear factor will be reduced at least a little bit to the point that we will be able to do a 1-stop here, even if we're slow. A 2-stop took us completely out of the race last time. We only beat like 1 person in the end. So yeah, we kind of need to be able to do a 1-stop. It is, of course, a sprint weekend as well, which is always exciting. It means that we do have a couple opportunities to score points. You may remember last season, we did actually pick up, I believe it was P7 in the sprint here in Qatar, and our car is a lot better than it was this time last year. So I'm pretty optimistic about our chances of maybe picking up a point or 2 in the sprint this time around. However, we do need to be cognizant of both McLaren and Alpine, who are very close to us in the Constructors' Championship. We have to beat them in pretty much every race going forward, and we have to comprehensively beat them as well, because especially on the McLaren side, they have Norris and Piastri. They have a strong car. They're very capable of getting into the points and even getting on the podium at this stage of the season. We've really been affected by the fact that Haas was so strong at the beginning of the season. We topped the practice session, which was a nice surprise. We were actually very comfortably top, almost 4 tenths between myself and Alonso. However, the tyre wear factor here was still 1.6 times what they expected it would be, so there is definitely the possibility that it might still be a 2-stop race for us. So I think we need to try and maximize the performance we can get in the sprint. We're not taking any grid penalties here this time. We did, of course, take one in Japan. So yeah, we do need to try and maximize our performance in the sprint. I think if we can get a good qualify in a points-paying position, then we should be good. So that's going to be the aim here, I think, in qualifying, is to get at least top 8, probably, and maybe even a little bit better than that. We're actually coming off the back of 2 pole positions in a row. We had pole in Singapore, we had pole in Japan. We're looking hot right now. Whether we can get pole in Qatar, I'm not sure, because, I mean, we do have decent pace around this track. The problem is not with our out-and-out pace. The problem is all to do with the tyre wear and the fact that our car pace drops off dramatically over the course of a race distance, and for that reason it may not be so simple to finish in the points, especially not in a full 50% distance race. But anyway, here we are on our first flying lap of Q1. We're on a fresh set of soft compound tyres, and we managed to pull out a 1:19.8, which is very nice. And yeah, that was actually good enough to put us P1 at the beginning of the session. And towards the end of the session, no one had beaten that time, which was quite nice. It meant that we were able to go out on another set of no, we went out on the same set of soft compound tyres. And we crossed the line. You know, we're in the 120s. Obviously, we don't improve because the tyres were absolutely screwed. There's no reason to use the same set of tyres if you're trying to improve, because they lose about half a second a lap, if that, maybe more. But yeah, we were about 6 tenths faster than Charles Leclerc on this occasion. I'm sure that these guys will close me down a little bit, but the big surprise is that Hauger is through. So yeah, very pleased with that. He outqualifies both Haas's, both Williams, and both AlphaTauris to make it through in P16. I don't know if it's the car, I don't know if he's improving, but either way, I am very, very happy with his performance. Hauger through into Q2 for the 3rd time this season, I believe. And hopefully, you know, he can go even better than that. Maybe he can out-qualify a few people in Q2. I'm not convinced, because he was 4 tenths off the nearest car in front of him, but it was good enough to get him through regardless, so I can't complain too much. We're now out on another fresh set of soft compound tyres to kick off Q2, of course, and we improve a little bit. 1:19.7, a little bit faster than our Q1 run, of course, and puts us first again, ahead of Russell, ahead of Bottas. So yeah, that might be good enough for us to get through. And indeed, I chance it. I go out on a used set of soft compound tyres once again to end things off. But it doesn't look like any of these guys are going to be able to get ahead of me. So it seems like we're going to be P1 in Q1, P1 in Q2, and we're through to Q3. Can we get pole position for the third time in a row here in Qatar? That would be quite impressive if we could manage that, especially given the performance of our car. But we're looking so strong in qualifying. And yeah, a big shock here. Fernando Alonso, the championship leader, is out alongside Ocon, Piastri, Stroll, Perez, and of course my teammate Dennis Hauger did not make it through. He was only P16. But yes, Fernando Alonso, this could pose a major blow to his championship chances if he can't get on top of this. You know, he's going to need to come back through the field. He's got a sprint and a race to do it in, so I think he'll still be targeting at least a top 5 finish, but he's got to do something. Here we go now in Q3. We're on a fresh set of soft compound tyres. This is our first run. I'm going to show you the whole of Sector 3. You may have clocked there that I was 1.5 seconds ahead of Sainz going into the final sector. Now, the final sector is one of my slowest sectors in this track. I think Sector 2 is probably my strongest. So I would be surprised if I was 1.5 seconds faster than Sainz overall. But it does look like we're going to do a pretty good time here. We're going to be in the 119s. It's a 119.5, and that is good enough for P1. And I would wager to say that that is probably going to be good enough for pole position now as well, because the AI don't tend to improve on their second run in Q3. Russell has made his way up into P2. Then it's Leclerc, then Bottas, then Norris. But yeah, we went out on a huge set of soft compound tyres at the end of Q3. I just said, screw it, you know, why not? And yeah, we crossed the line, but it is going to be another pole position, our third pole position in a row. I am extremely happy with that result, and yeah, hopefully we can do something good as a result of that. Max Verstappen in a disappointing P7 there. Meanwhile, Norris in P5, so I do have to try and put on a good performance here to make sure I can keep him at bay, to make sure that he doesn't catch me too much in the championship, and McLaren don't catch us too much in the championship as well, because those are the guys I'm going to be super worried about here, right? They are only, I think, 5 or 6 points behind us in the Constructors' Championship. So if they do outscore us, then we are going to be in for a bit of difficulty, I think. So yeah, it does need to be a good result for us in the sprint and in the race. We can't just take that pole and then be like, okay, now I can stop trying. We do need to put on a good performance for the remainder of the weekend, and that starts right here in the sprint.
Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Robinson lines up on pole position, and starting next to them is George Russell. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Leclerc, Bottas, Norris, Sainz, Verstappen, Tsunoda, Gasly, Zhou, Ocon, Fernando Alonso, Oscar Piastri, Stroll, Perez, Hauger, Hulkenberg, Fittipaldi, Sargent, Albon, Magnussen, and Nick de Vries. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We will soon find out. A warm welcome to Anthony Davidson, who is beside me in the commentary box today. Joined once again by former Formula One driver Anthony Davidson, and they've had a lot of on-track incidents recently that could leave them low on confidence.
It's not an ideal situation by any means. When you get into a bad run like that, there's always a risk of frustration creeping in, which can cause more mistakes and locks you into this vicious cycle. Hopefully today they can get through turn 1 cleanly and stay calm for the rest of the race.
All right, let's see what we can do. We grabbed points in Japan starting from P5. We've got 10 laps here in Qatar. We're going to be taking a set of medium compound tyres the whole way and hoping that we can hold on to at least a point here perhaps.
Okay, so
and yeah, maybe stay ahead of Norris as well. If I can win, I will be absolutely over the moon, but I can't see it happening. I think it's much more likely that we'll probably get, maybe we can hold on to P3, but probably it will be maybe P4, P5, something like that. But I do want to finish ahead of Norris at the very least. So that is going to be the target here. Outperform Norris, see what we can do, and yeah, we'll see maybe if we can hold off the likes of Russell and Leclerc. Leclerc starting on the softs here. I think that's a bold play, to be honest. I think those are going to go off very quickly for him, and I wouldn't be surprised if he falls back down the order come the end of the race. But maybe he'll be so far ahead by that point it won't matter. Anyway, we'll see what we can do as the lights come on. And the lights go out, and we've had a good getaway compared to George Russell. I think we're going to be able to hold on to this, but let's have an eye on Leclerc as well on those soft compound tyres. He's going to get away well. He hasn't got away well enough, though, and he is in P3. Sainz, meanwhile, up into P4. He's had a good start as well. Bottas, meanwhile, I think has had a shocking start. I don't even know where he's gone, but he started P4, and he's fallen all the way down to like P13 or something like that. That looks terrible for him. I don't know what on earth has happened with him there. But yeah, Bottas is basically out of contention here already. And yeah, we are holding on to P1 for the time being. But it won't be easy. I imagine we will be coming under a lot of pressure from George Russell in the Mercedes. You know, he is the reigning world champion. He is trying to close down on that championship fight with just, well, if you include this race, 5 races to go left in the championship. This is round 19 of 23. And yeah, we've only got a handful of races left to go. Very little separates him and Alonso at this point. Verstappen a little bit further behind, but feasibly, mathematically, could get back into the fight as well, as we pick up a little bit of floor damage there, going over the curb just a tiny bit too much, and that is going to harm our chances of being able to hold on to this victory even more. That is a little bit worrying, but hopefully we can hold on to this, and we can keep George Russell at bay. We're going to be burning quite a lot of battery in order to do so, but not too much, because we don't want to blow all of it too early. This is a track that absolutely eats your battery. We do have, of course, a few fuel, what am I trying to say? ERS upgrades, not fuel upgrades. We do have fuel upgrades as well, of course. But we do have a few ERS upgrades, which means that we do actually manage to harvest some battery around here. If you haven't seen my league race video, then in that race, I actually was not harvesting battery at all that whole race, basically, because the amount that I was burning, even on sort of the passive ERS modes, was still too much. You see, I came under a bit of pressure there from George Russell. Carlos Sainz is into the pits, and I think that is going to put him out of contention in this race. I don't know if he had contact with someone else as George Russell tries to make a move on me. We're going to see if we can hold it around the outside of him once again, and we do manage to hold on as we move into lap 4, and that is us holding on to the lead of this sprint for the time being. But he's very close on this occasion. Less than 4/10 is the gap between myself and George Russell at this point. Surely there's no way I can hold on to this, and indeed he blitzes past me. No chance to tack that one back, and that is us down into P2, and probably the victory in the sprint given the way of George Russell in the Mercedes. But, you know, I don't think he was ever our fight. I wanted to try and hold on to it for as long as I could, but now we've got bigger fish to fry. We've got Leclerc closing us down on those soft compound tyres. Is he going to make the move? It looks like he will. Once again, he just blitzes past us with the DRS. There's nothing I can do. And, yeah, that is him gone. And we are down into P3. If we lose one more position, we will be off the podium. Not that there is a podium for the sprint, of course. I'll just get one of those little medal things or whatever. Now we're looking at Nick De Vries. He's almost at the back if it weren't for Carlos Sainz, who is actually at the back. And, yeah, he is out of the race. That is his sprint over. Some kind of mechanical failure. Can't tell if there's smoke coming out the back of his car because it's a little bit too far away, but he is crawling off the road, and yeah, he is going to be out, and that will be him starting at the back for the next one. And there you go. That's the message. Now I'm closing down Leclerc. We stayed with him, and we're going to be burning the ERS and some DRS to see if we can get back past him. We're going to be diving up the inside. He's going to try and stick it around the outside. Who's going to win out here? Will it be me? Will it be Leclerc? He's still keeping a foot in. that as we get to the following corner, it is going to be me overtaking Leclerc, and I am up into P2 once again. Leclerc, though, on the following lap, I feel like is going to maybe put a bit more pressure on me here. Is he going to try and go for a move up the inside? It looks like he is going to. Here he comes. He doesn't quite manage to make it stick, but he's going to try and keep it in there. He's on the soft compound tyres, and they've gone off quite a lot by this point, so he just can't manage to hold on up the inside. He doesn't quite have the grip in order to be able to do that. And now, as we move on to lap 9, end of lap 9, we're going to be moving on to the penultimate lap. If Leclerc doesn't challenge me here, the only time that he could conceivably mount a challenge here is perhaps into the final straight as we go over the line. Maybe he'll get me on the line or something like that. But hopefully it doesn't come down to that, but that is of course a concern. So I will have to try and push as hard as I can on this lap to keep him at bay. George Russell 2 seconds up the road. We've actually not done too terrible a job of staying with him, it seems. But yeah, he is going to probably finesse this one and get the victory here, barring any crazy shenanigans. But yeah, we're going to try and keep Leclerc at bay for these final few sectors if we can. We're in sector 2 at the moment. And this is usually where I thrive. If we can build a big gap to him, then we should be okay. Lando Norris is not going to catch us before the end of this sprint, so he is going to come home in P4, and you know, that means we are going to outscore him. I don't think Piastri's in the points either, so that's good. That means that we will be outperforming McLaren here today, but you know, there's obviously still a race yet to come. We're into the final sector now, just a few more corners left to navigate, all very fast ones as well. You can see we've got the left-hander, and then we've got the final hairpin, and then we just have to move through the straight to see if we can hold on. But Leclerc is very close at this point. He's within 0.2 of me. He does fall a little bit further out as we get through the hairpin, but he's going to be closing me down quite a lot. And there is George Russell. He's slowed down quite a lot. He's out of fuel. Can we get it before the line? No, we can't, but we're super close. And wow, I really thought for a second there that might have been a sprint victory for me, but to no avail, unfortunately. George Russell running out of fuel right before the line there, it seems. And wow, what a crazy ending to that sprint.
So let's have a look then at the drivers' standings. Our championship leader is still sat at the top of the standings, but their rivals have made up some solid ground today. Well, that wraps up Sprint. All that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
Goodness me, I feel like I need to catch my breath and go and lie down and all that kind of thing. We've still got a race left to go. That is absolutely wild, that ending to the sprint. Not what I expected at all. I did not think that George Russell would run out of fuel. It's something I've seen people do in my my league race that we did around Qatar, of course, and also generally if I do longer races around Qatar, it's not out of the question that people will run out of fuel because the track eats fuel like it eats tyres. But yeah, that was a bit of a surprise. But the job is not done. We do have another race yet to go, and we will see if we can score more points as we get into the Qatar Grand Prix.
Welcome back to Qatar. We had a year off due to a small footballing tournament in 2022, but it's back to Formula One right now. Lusail International was built in 2004, 3.3 miles, 16 turns with just one DRS zone, but it's a long straight, and there's plenty of high-speed overtaking opportunities through the corners. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. What a qualifying yesterday for George Russell. He'll start today's race from pole position, and Robinson completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Norris, Verstappen, Stroll, Gasly, Bottas, Fernando Alonso, Tsunoda, Zhou, Oscar Piastri, Perez, Magnussen, Hulkenberg, Sargent, Fittipaldi, Albon, Ocon, Hauger, Sainz, and Nick de Vries. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. Anthony Davidson joins me again for the race today. Let's talk about Robinson. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Well, I certainly am having a lot of fun if we're scoring points. Oh, I've not been having too much fun in these races before Japan because anytime I looked like I was going to score points, we were cruelly denied. From Hungary, where we were running for a podium, to Monza, where we had made up 8 positions and were running in the points, to Singapore, where we were looking like we might win. I've been cruelly denied points on 3 of the last 4 occasions where it was looking like I was going to be scoring them. And this is going to be an occasion where hopefully we will be able to make it to the finish, even if we don't finish on the podium. At least if we can score some good points, maybe keep Norris behind, then I will be pretty happy with the level of performance that we show here. But, there are 29 laps to go before we can consider that as the lights come on. And the lights go out, and we've had a good getaway. Not as good as George Russell, I don't think, but we were never going to get ahead of him with him on those soft compound tyres. You can see he's breaking away through the second phase there. But we have held on to P2. I thought about maybe trying to send it around the outside of him, but on the soft compound tyres, it's just not going to be possible. We hold off Leclerc through the first corner, though, and that is going to be us into P2. I say into P2. We were there beforehand. But, we're still in P2. But Leclerc is going to try and pile some more pressure on me. I'm going to have to try and hold him off around the outside. And this whole time, that allows George Russell to break further and further away. He's on those soft compound tyres, which means that, he might be slow towards the end of the stint. He's going to have to take those quite far. I'm going to have to take a set of mediums 13 laps, which I'm not actually convinced I'm going to be able to do to begin with. But, if I can, he's going to have to take a set of softs about 12 or 13 laps as well, and then hope for the best going forward. So, he's arguably got a much more difficult job than I've got, I would say. And, we will see whether we can maybe reel him in later over the course of the race. But for the time being, he has already broken out of my DRS range. He's 1.2 seconds up the road. Meanwhile, Leclerc is quite close behind. Verstappen is up into P4. Stroll is up into P5. So Norris must have had a terrible start there because, it looks like he's down in no higher than P6. Meanwhile, Piastri has had a solid start and he's up into P8. So how many points is that combined for McLaren if they finish 6th and 8th? That would be 12, and we're going to be scoring 18 if we finish in 2nd here. So really, we can't go any lower than 4th here at the moment as Verstappen piles the pressure on Leclerc there, and you can see that they hold each other up a little bit. And that is actually good for me because it allows me to break away a little bit, and it means that it's not until the end of lap 4 and the start of lap 5 that I really have to worry about any kind of pressure from anyone behind. It's Max Verstappen on those soft compound tyres. Here he comes up the inside through turn 1, but I think we're going to be able to hold him off here. For some reason, I'm just imperious through that first corner around the outside of everyone else. They always want to go to the inside. I defend to the outside, and we are looking really good around here. Lap 6, I think Verstappen is going to try and do the same thing as we move into lap 7, and I'm going to try and squeeze him out a little bit, but he's a lot further ahead. But we do dive back round the outside, and here we go, all the way around the outside and up into P2 once again. I'm not going to give this one up for free, Max. You're going to have to really try and dig deep if you want to get this one, and indeed, Leclerc actually ends up getting back ahead of him eventually and piling all the pressure on him, and he is up into P3. Verstappen all the way down to P5 as Norris now putting the pressure on him as well. They're going to be going wheel to wheel through turn 1. Who's going to win out in that battle? I don't know, but all that happens is that they fall further and further away, which means I don't really have to worry about anyone at the moment. No one's in my DRS range, and I am just I'm just chilling. I'm cruising right now. I am worried about the tyres because the front left, I believe, is on 61%. The tyres are not feeling good anymore, and I wouldn't be surprised if the other medium runners start to reel me in because I know that the AI are absolute wizards with their tyres. We're on 64% now, so I'm going to try and box this lap, I think, 1 lap early and hope that the hard tyres can do 17 laps, because I don't think that these mediums are going to do 2 more laps. I'm a little bit concerned about the prospect of a puncture, and that is the last thing I want right now. So we're going to try and cover that off. We're going to try and come in on this lap 12 to put on a set of hard compound tyres to the end. Indeed, George Russell is coming in at the end of this lap as well, and I imagine that a lot of other soft compound runners are coming in too. And this is good actually, because it means that we avoid the undercut from Max Verstappen and anyone else running behind who is on the soft compound tyres. So I'm actually pretty optimistic about our chances of getting a good result here, avoiding the undercut from everyone else. It looks like we might actually be able to pull off a bit of a gap extension on some of those medium compound runners like Leclerc and Norris. We'll keep an eye on the gap to them as they pit a little bit later on. But yeah, for the time being, we're looking pretty good for this podium, I would say. As long as we can keep Verstappen behind, and even if we don't keep him behind, I think we'll still finish on the podium. It's Norris and Leclerc that I need to be looking out for at this stage in the race, I would say. But we are looking very, very solid right now, and I am very optimistic about our chances of scoring some good points here. You can see as we move on to lap 14, it is Russell who has actually been held up quite a lot trying to get past Ocon, so we're going to have to try and navigate him quite quickly. We definitely are going to come up on him because he is on used mediums. He's been on those since the end of since the start of the race. So yeah, he's going to be going very slowly, and we're going to have to see if we can get past him sooner rather than later. Burning a little bit of battery, keeping my wheel in here. We're going to dive up the inside, and that is an extremely gutsy overtake on Esteban Ocon. But we do make the move stick, and we are up into P7, which will be net P2 once everyone else is boxed. And we will see, indeed, once everyone else is boxed, what the outcome ends up being, as Norris and Leclerc are both into the pits. I think Alonso has actually stayed out one more lap, amazingly. So yeah, not sure what's going on with that. But yeah, there are a few people actually who've chosen to stay out an extra lap. I understand in the case of Sainz, but for the case of Alonso and the Alfa Romeo, I don't really know what the incentive is to stay out the extra lap. We will see, I guess, what happens as a result. But we are comprehensively ahead of Norris and Leclerc, and in fact, it even looks like Verstappen is going to be ahead of them as well, despite the fact that he was behind them before the pit stop. So he has pulled off the undercut. My teammate Dennis Hauger is looking pretty close to them as well. Obviously, he hasn't pitted yet, but yeah, it was looking like he might be able to get ahead of them for a second. But either way, Norris and Leclerc both are now behind Verstappen, and they are 7 seconds down on me. Verstappen is 5 seconds down on me. I don't think anything is going to take this P2 away from me now, unless there is some crazy shenanigans or a mechanical failure. How do you time that so well? I can't believe it. This is the 4th time we have been running in a strong position in the last 5 races that a mechanical failure has struck us. This is another one of those things like in last year's game. I simply refuse to believe that this is a coincidence. We've only had 6 mechanical failures this season, and 5 of them have come when we were running looking like we might finish in a really strong position for the track we were racing at. The only time that one came in a track I didn't care about was Baku, but Miami was bullshit. Hungary was ridiculous. Monza was ridiculous. Singapore was ridiculous, and now this as well is ridiculous. I can't believe it. I can't believe that this has happened. I am furious. I am fuming. I can't believe it. You know, we invest in these durability upgrades. We do everything we can, and somehow it's still not enough. And it just means we're going to have to take more grid penalties later on.
It has been some contest out there tonight. The fans are going wild for their champions under the desert night sky. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
I really feel the track layout combined with the track temperatures we saw today suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot. A well-earned victory for Mercedes.
Well, it is George Russell who takes the victory here, but I'm much more interested in the man in P2. Lando Norris has somehow fought his way back onto the podium here, and that means, without a doubt, I am sure that we have dropped outside the top 6 in the Constructors' Championship with just 4 races to go. Fernando Alonso also somehow recovered to the podium there, so that was a strong performance from him. It keeps the championship competitive. It means that Russell won't jump him just yet, but yeah, things are heating up.
The top of the table has shrunk somewhat today. Let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. So, Anthony Davidson, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
But there's no question in my mind, it has to go to George Russell. What a performance. He's got every right to be proud of what he accomplished out there today.
Let's move on to the constructors. It was a tough race for our championship leaders who lose ground at the top of the table. Meanwhile, Ferrari have improved their position. A strong weekend for them as they fight their way towards the top. Well, that certainly was an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.
Yes, we've now fallen 13 points behind McLaren in the Constructors' Championship, and that can only mean one thing. We absolutely need to start getting some really solid results going forward. Next up is Texas, and that is a track that I am actually pretty confident I can get a very strong result at. You know, it's probably one of my strongest tracks on this year's game, I would say. So we need that to go well for us. We need the final 4 races to all be bangers. We can't have any mechanical failures from now on. We need to just push and push and push and push, and that is all that we can really hope for now. Otherwise, we are not getting that sponsorship bonus, and our development is going to be massively hamstrung for the following seasons. So yeah, we are in a bit of a predicament, but that is going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.